Hi, my name's Leonie, and today I'm going to talk to you about something that shouldn't really be controversial, but is, as with most things, sometimes a little bit controversial, and that is a constellation called Crux, which is better known to many of us as the Southern Cross. I've got this little artwork here that I made in 2013. We've got an etching of the Southern Cross up top, and then underneath it I've got some text from an author who I didn't know at the time was a little bit controversial, but as with most authors, is sometimes a little bit controversial. It's from Jack London and it reads, "And when the stars came out, there shone the Southern Cross low on the horizon. Proud? Why, the language of the stars was mine, and I listened and I heard them telling me my way over the deep." So I'm going to zoom in on this now. Not like this, probably with the computer, but we'll start like this. So the Southern Cross isn't visible from the Northern Hemisphere. It's very, very, very visible in the Southern Hemisphere. It's the smallest constellation, but it is the one that we know best, and the one that we can look up to the sky, and even if we can't recognise any other constellation, chances are you'll be able to pick this one out. In fact, it is so well known in the Southern Hemisphere that it's the constellation that is on the most flags. It's on the Australian flag, it's on the New Zealand flag, it's on the Western Samoa flag, it's on the Brazil flag, and it's on the Papua New Guinea flag. So while this constellation is known as a cross officially, and many places do see it as a cross, it has been known as a lot of things over time. For example, in many Australian Aboriginal stories, Crux and the Coalsack Nebula make up the head of the emu in the sky. So in these stories, rather than talking about the stars themselves in particular, many of the dark spaces around the sky make up the stories. So there's the big emu in the sky in the nebula, and Crux itself is often a possum sitting in a tree. In Venice, it's known as the Southern Chariot. In India, it's a cross. In Vietnam, it's a pony fish. In the Philippines, it's a spinning top. In Javanese culture, it's a raking hut. In the Maori culture of New Zealand, it is an anchor with the pointers and a rope. In Tonga, it's a duck. In Samoa, it's a triggerfish. In some cultures, it's a staircase. In Argentina, it's a rare bird being attacked by two dogs. So similar to the Australian Aboriginal culture, in Brazil, they reference the Coalsack Nebula as well. But in Brazil, the Southern Cross are angry bees coming out of a hive, and the hive is the Coalsack Nebula. In Botswana, it's two giraffes, and in other cultures, it's also been known as a stingray or an eagle. So the Southern Cross is always visible in the Southern Hemisphere. Like the pole star Polaris in the Northern Hemisphere, in the Southern Hemisphere we use the Southern Cross to point to the Southern Pole. The Southern Cross is also mentioned in the second verse of our Australian national anthem, which is the verse that most people don't really know the words to, and as such I'm going to read it for you from my notes now. "Beneath our radiant Southern Cross we'll toil with hearts and hands, to make this commonwealth of ours renowned of all the lands. For those who've come across the seas with boundless plains to share, with courage let us all combine to advance Australia fair." So that's where we come to the slightly controversial nature of the Southern Cross. And as I mentioned in a previous video back in January, I had made some artwork about the Australian food, the dim sim, and gold rushes. So my history is that I come from a gold rush town in Australia called Ballarat, and I don't live there anymore. I live on the opposite side of the world in Ireland in a county called Laois, which is where a guy named Peter Lawler came from. So in Australia we would call him Peter Lalor. Everybody in Australia knows him as Peter Lalor, but because I'm currently in Ireland now, I think I'm legally obliged to call him Peter Lawler. So Peter Lawler moved from Laois to the goldfields of Australia, and he led what is known as the Eureka Rebellion. And the Eureka Rebellion was the sort of catalyst for democratic rule in Australia. It was a failed rebellion, but the impacts of it spread throughout sort of Australian history. So the flag that the rebels sewed to fly as part of the Eureka Rebellion has a stylised Southern Cross on the front. So it's got this blue background with a cross shape and 5 stars on the cross. They're not exactly where they should be in terms of constellation, but the Southern Cross was the inspiration for that flag. And that flag has since gone on to represent many unions in Australia, but it has also been adopted by groups from the far right to promote their hate speech, which makes me absolutely furious. You don't get to take the flag from my town and use it for hate. So on one hand, we've got those far right groups in Australia using the Eureka flag as the banner for their hate speech. But we also have, about 20 years ago, this trend started of getting Southern Cross tattoos and became popular. And it sort of came to a head in 2005 during what's known as the Cronulla riots in Australia, which were race riots between Australian and Lebanese people in Sydney. And so the Southern Cross became known as this symbol of hate speech and anti-immigration in Australia, which is really unfortunate because it is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful constellation. And even now, when I was researching this video, I came across shorts and videos talking about the Southern Cross and using it as a way to promote nationalism in the worst ways. And I don't want that for this beautiful constellation. It makes me so happy every time I go home to Australia and I look up in the sky and I see it, because I can't see it from where I live now. And it's one of the things that I miss the most. I miss the Australian skies. They're absolutely stunning. And so I'm pretty happy that I have this little artwork to remind me of the Southern Cross and all the good things that it can represent. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. If you would like to buy one of the couple of these etchings that I have left, please go to my website at crumpart.net. There'll be the spelling of that on the screen here somewhere. And if you would like to see more of my art, please join my mailing list so that you can see new things when they come out. Thanks for watching. Bye.